Good rising, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys in California. Before I begin, give all praise to the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother. Who is wisdom? Who is the Holy Spirit? Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. I pray the Most High blesses this lesson this evening, gives more knowledge and understanding of the events of the past, in order to understand events that are currently happening on the earth, so we get a much better understanding of the things that are soon to come on the earth. Brethren, we're going to stay with Psalms 83, but we're going to go in a different direction this evening. We're going to discuss how the whole world borrowed from the Hebrews. All their information they got from the Hebrews, from our people. And with Psalms 83 and all of them coming together, they've all consorted to hide the fact that they got their information from our people. In fact, with the Psalms 83 consorting against our people, what they've done is they made it seem as if we are the lowest of the low intellectually. Someone sent me a video, and it was from Deborah Yah's redirecting channel, and it was kind of funny because, yeah, that's the way the Most High works. This video that she made recently goes exactly with what we're going to talk about this evening. It was some college students who were pretty much saying that all of the kids at the college pretty much looked down on the so-called black people. Not just the students, but also the staff. And that they all think that so-called black people are stupid, dumb, ignorant. They have low IQs of like 75. The only reason that we got into these colleges was because of affirmative action, that we don't earn anything on our own, and that we don't speak broken English and Ebonics and this and that. But see, they can say those kinds of things because of what they've done to our people. They've taken our history and obliterated it. They took the fact that they got all of their knowledge from our people and hid all of that. So then with that knowledge that they've gotten from us, they've elevated themselves to like a higher status. And since they took our history away, our people have no idea that, hey, they stole all this stuff from us. Then, of course, in the school systems, they set up these tests that are pretty much biased against our people, and they test them on information that, is more geared towards these Gentiles. So they're definitely going to score higher than most of the time than us, because, the way that they structure these tests, they don't always, they're not 100% fair for everyone. But that's neither here nor there. But it was just funny that that's what, you steal all of our information and then you attribute it to yourselves and your ancestors, and you make it seem as if you've always been on top. Now, see, this is why they are so hell-bent on keeping this information from the world. They're not going to admit that they got the information that they have now from us. They're not going to admit that they got their structure for their governments from us. We know that they pretty much structured the government here in the Americas from the Aboriginal governments that were already here before they got here. They just took those structures and used them for their government and made it seem as if they came up with it on their own. And it's not just the people that are here, it's all of these different societies that, the people here in the Americas love to talk about the Greeks as if the Greeks were the ones who've, come up with everything, math and science and the arts and philosophy. They made it seem as if those people, those Greeks, were the ones that came up with everything. But we know who they went to go learn from. And we're going to actually get into that right now. Other nations have taken our information and kept it as their own. See, that's why in the last video, when it talks about how, over in Stonehenge, how they set up those churches on our sacred sites and then attributed those sites to their saints in just as recently as the 16th century, 1600s, 17th century, 1600s. That's happened worldwide. You got all these different ethnicities on all these different land masses, making it seem as if they've been there for thousands of years. But we know there's been a whole realignment of people worldwide. The world, the world was made for our sakes. We were worldwide. The whole world went to Enoch and asked for him to lead them, to lead the whole world. Solomon and his, exploits with his ships and his navies was worldwide. Many of the Gentiles, they didn't make good ships until they took over the island of Tin, Britain. Then all of a sudden they started making ships and they started making navies, and what were they? Worldwide. A worldwide power, but not until they took over those certain land masses. That's why taking over certain areas and lands is so important, because then you have the resources. But that's something that's been hidden. Those were gifted to certain people. Those land masses were gifted to certain people. They got the blessings, which, it definitely goes with the land masses, and the ones that were given to certain people. So when Esau and the Gentiles got their opportunity, what did they get? They got access to the what? To the land masses. They got access to the lands of milk and honey. And as soon as they did, that's when their power grew. So let's get into this book here real quick. The history of the effects of religion on mankind. Okay? I'm getting into this right now. All right, we're going to start up here. It's page 140. We're going to start up top where it says Aristotle, Epicurus, Gaffindus, Descartes, and other materialists ascribe everything to matter and motion, and see no necessity for the divine interpolation, precision, something like that, and the fabric of the universe. Whereas if they had followed the Mosaic account, they might have been more successful in their theories, and have seen in the contemplation of the world manifold instances of the power, wisdom, and goodness of God. Those who wish to be acquainted with the fictions of philosophers concerning the structure of the heavens and the earth, I refer to a learned writer who exhibits their different whims relative to the chaos and primitive matter. Moses, on the contrary, does not suppose a world made without a God, nor material beings transformed into spiritual by their own power, nor beings to exist which never existed, such as, fauns, nymphs, and etc. For a scheme, though grand and majestic, is yet simple, not contrary to reason or experience. Unlike the absurd and confused accounts of the cosmogonies of the pagans, Newton, by agreeing with the inspired written concerning the production of the several elements and the motion and organization of the whole, has devised a theory which will last forever, while the systems of fantastic writers and forgotten or disregarded. This prince of philosophers, by adopting the Mosaic account, has investigated the laws which prevail in our system and proved them the best that could possibly have been contrived, thus exerting his abilities to the glory of God and good of man, and not employing them against his creator, like some ancient and modern unbelievers. So it seems like, Newton here, I think, was the one who followed the Mosaic account. And then his stuff actually lasted. But the other ones who were, ignoring Moses' account and trying to actually come up with philosophizing things without God were shown to be, they didn't last. Okay? In order to prove that heathens borrowed theological information from Hebrews, it will be necessary to show that some pagan historians, philosophers, lawgivers, and poets had opportunities of being acquainted with the writings of the Jews or with the people themselves. We have the testimony of Aristobulus that the books of Moses were translated into Greek before Alexander the Great, nor can we entertain a doubt that the works of Moses and the prophets were known to heathens before they were translated. Demetrius Phaleris and a Peripatetic, something like that, wrote in praise of the Old Testament and persuaded Ptolemy, Philadelphus, to employ 72 learned men to translate it from the Hebrew into the Greek tongue. The Jews were well known to the Greeks at the time of Xerxes, since Cherelis was more ancient than Herodotus, says that they assisted that prince in his expedition into Greece. Josephus assures us that when Ptolemy Euergetes took possession of Syria by force, he did not sacrifice to the Egyptian gods for his victory, but went to Jerusalem and offered sacrifice to God according to the custom of the Hebrews. So you see right there, the heathens knew when things went positive and they were blessed, they went and actually praised and thanked the Most High. They knew where the power really was and who it was with. But see, these are the kinds of things that are being hidden from the people now. They've been hidden because we were hidden for 500 plus years. Satan set up his churches so that when they got positive things that would happen, they would go and thank Satan and not go to the Most High. But see, back here, these people knew. When Ptolemy right there took possession of Syria by force, he did not sacrifice to the Egyptian gods for his victory, but went to Jerusalem and offered sacrifice to God according to the custom of the Hebrews. Now you see this right here, Gentiles. See, this is what the Most High is giving you the opportunity to see again here at the end. He's raising up his people. He's raising up his people to tell you the truth, to show you the truth, to show you the alternate, reality that you've pretty much been surrounded with. He's showing you the other option of actually praising the Most High, praising the true power of the universe, and cleaving to his people. See, these Greeks back here, they did that. They knew the truth. They didn't go to the Egyptian gods. They weren't going to Babylonian gods. They weren't going to thank gods that were not real gods. They went to the power of the Hebrews and followed the customs of the Hebrews. Fast forward to today. See, before the Most High woke up his people, you didn't even have that option. You would pretty much just be going to, if something happened where, you got a new job or you were sick and you were healed, and your kids were sick and they were healed, or something positive happens in your life. See, for hundreds of years you had no option but to go to Satan and thank him. Now the Most High is showing you that in the past, this is what the Gentiles did. And this is what we've been raised up here at the end to do. Not just for the Gentiles, but also for our own people. Showing them the truth, showing them the path, being a light to a dark world. I think that's very important. Let's read that part again. Josephus assures us that when Ptolemy Euergetes took possession of Syria by force, he did not sacrifice to the Egyptian gods for his victory, but went to Jerusalem and offered sacrifice to God according to the custom of the Hebrews. This historian proves by various other arguments that the Greeks were known to the Jews and might have learned from them their doctrines and practices. Agathocles, something like this, derides the Jews for resting on every seventh day from war, agriculture, and commerce. And Theodotus, Naphius, Aristophanes, Euhemerus, Conon, Zoporion, and other Greek writers make mention of the Jews, though guilty of mistakes concerning them, for want of an accurate knowledge of the sacred writings. See, for want of an accurate knowledge of the sacred writings, they've always wanted our sacred writings. They knew of us, but they didn't know as much as they wanted to because they were not able to get our sacred writings. We held those. We guarded those. Those were not things that other nations could just easily get until we fell. That's when they got our writings. And then they manipulated them, remashed them up, and then gave it to the world. And then told everybody, hey, this is the untouched word of God. This is all that there is right here. These books right here. There's nothing wrong with them. They've been, they're perfect. We haven't touched anything, if you can believe that, right? With a little wink and a nod. We know that they hid many parts that were actually very, very important. But that was all about Satan and his abominable church. But these guys are always wanting our sacred writings, right there again, for want of an accurate knowledge of the sacred writings. The Jews, by their traffic with the Phoenicians, might have become known to the Greeks, and their several captivities must have disseminated their tenets among heathen nations. So yes, and it talks about that all the time with the Phoenicians, traveling, moving around. That's how they started to, learn more about our ways. When we went through our, we were actually going through our captivities. That's when the heathens learned about our ways, learned more about our power. They saw the power, that our people had. Just like with Joseph, and he was able to interpret the dreams of the Pharaoh. And then he made him second in command because he saw that, our people were blessed. And then what does it say? If you bless our people, if you bless the Hebrews, you'll be blessed. They knew that, I'm sure, as well. That's why a lot of these other, kings and pharaohs would bless our people. Like when Potiphar was had Joseph in his house, and his house was blessed. When the Pharaoh made him second in command, Pharaoh was blessed. Let's continue. You got examples of when you're blessing the right people that you incur blessings. But see, the devil doesn't want you to realize that if you bless the right people, you'll be blessed. There's total examples of this. When he talks about learning the ways of the customs of the Hebrews and following that, you'll be blessed. That happened here with the Greeks. So their impatience under servitude might have induced some captives to fly to other countries, while the singularity of their customs must have excited the curiosity of their masters to inquire into the doctrines of a people who were proud of being favorites of heaven, even while they labored under oppression. And see, we know that we're the sons and daughters of the living power, even when we're going through our oppression. What does it talk about in Baruch 4? Like, even though you're going through your your oppression, like, to take your punishment, take it, just take it. Don't complain. This is how it's going to be. And even though we're going through our punishments, we still know that we're the sons and daughters of the living power. And just trust the fact that when we come to the end of our punishment, that the Most High is going to redeem us. And the ones who took us into captivity are going to be punished. It's all just part of the plan. And that's what's going on right here. Even though, we were laboring under oppression, we still knew that we were the sons and daughters of the living power. If you go to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2, it talks about that. How even though we're going through our things, we're telling people that, hey, we're the sons and daughters of the living God. We're the sons and daughters of the living power. And that pissed off so many of the other nations. And that's what, like, okay, you guys think you're God's chosen people, you're the son. We're going to oppress you. We're going to kill you. And we're going to see, what he does if you're really the sons and daughters of the living power. See, those things that they hide even in these, in the Apocrypha are still showing up even right here in these historical books. Right there at the bottom again, who were proud of being favorites of heaven, even while they labored under oppression. So we know that we're the favorites, even though we're at the bottom. Because what does it say in the scriptures? What's he going to do? He's going to make the, the last first and the first last. So you should be, there should be examples. If you're the supposed chosen people, there should be examples of you being last. And not just one account, not just one thing that, you supposedly went through. We go in and out of oppression all the time. And at the end, we're going to be going through oppression, for 400 plus years. When the Most High comes back, he's redeeming a people that's at the bottom. He's not redeeming a people that's already at the top. It says the Chaldeans might have learned the Hebrew theology during the 70 years in which the Jews were captives in Babylon, When Daniel had interpreted the king's dreams, the king made him ruler of the province of Babylon and cried out, "Your God, okay, is a God of gods, a Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets." See that right there? So the other nations recognized our people, recognized who was working with us. They saw the power, that God was working with our people. And that's why they elevated our people to high positions, because they knew that, hey, these little gods that we've been serving are nothing. They're statues. They're nothing. They can't do anything. But right here, this Daniel, he has power. He has a God that blesses him and opens up his eyes and tells dreams and interprets dreams and tells us the future. We need to be blessing him. If we raise him up and bless him, we will receive blessings. You see the examples that they're showing. But see, the devil doesn't want the world to know that. The devil can't, have a real competition, and like make it seem like he's really God and that our power isn't, because he would lose that competition every time. So he has to be, cunning with it, tricky with it. And like say, hey, this is the God right here. This is the real God right here. Look at this white Jesus we got right here. These churches right here. This is the real God right here. This is the only God. There's no other. Anything else that shows up is fake and false. All the while you've been going to these churches, and those are the ones that have been fake and false with no power. Look at the churches today. Do they look like they have power now? You look at all the things that are happening. Look at all of these, volcanoes that are just picking up all over the place. Earthquakes, right? Everything that's just going bad. Society on the edge of collapse. No direction from the leaders. Everyone, the leaders just spinning their wheels, but nothing getting any better. Shows you they have no power. Why is that? Because you're not blessing the right people. But who's the one that's hid these people from you? Satan. See, Psalms 83 cuts two ways. It cuts both ways, okay? Because you guys don't understand, Psalms 83 cuts both ways. It gave you the blessing of being able to take our resources for yourselves and make it seem as if you've always had them. Yes, you've taken our history and hidden everything. You've been able to have all your fun here, okay? But now you have no way out. Now that you're at the end, you have no way of mercy. Why is that? Because you don't know who to bless. Your fathers have inherited lies. They've given you lies. So now you think you're blessing the right people, and you're blessing the wrong people. The ones that you could be blessing that would actually, help you, so you'd be able to receive a blessing, you don't even know who they are. That's how Psalms 83 is cut both ways. You can't say that we're nobodies and we're nothing and that we have low IQs and that we can't get into your colleges because we're idiots and this and that. We've always been slaves. You can't say that, because then you have this negative connotation, and now you can't believe the fact that we're the sons and daughters of God and that we are your key to blessings. You just can't believe that we are the key because you hate us so much. You're like, I have to bless these people. I have to acknowledge these people. I have to tell the truth about these people. I hate them. I can't do that. I've taught my kids to hate them. I've taught my grandkids to hate them. Now I got to go back and say that I was wrong. I'm prideful. I can't do that. Well then, suffer the consequences. Psalms 83 has given you a chance for a blessing, but now it's kept you from being able to get the true blessing or being able to acknowledge the truth. You'll just continue to believe a lie all the way until the end. So look at that again. So important, because like I said, these people back then who knew who the real Hebrews were, they knew how to get a blessing. They knew how to, prolong the blessings of their nations, of their kingdoms, by blessing the right people. You see how the Pharaoh was blessed of Egypt. You see here the king of Babylon is blessed because he actually raised up Daniel and he raised up Joseph. When the Greeks took Syria, they didn't go to Egypt. They didn't go worship those gods. They went to Jerusalem to follow the custom of the Hebrews. So again, during the 70 years in which the Jews were captives in Babylon, when Daniel had interpreted the king's dreams, the king made him ruler of the province of Babylon and cried out, "Your God, okay, is the God of gods, a Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets." The most learned and curious had opportunities of acquiring a knowledge of the Hebrew doctrines from the chief president, all right? Nor could any man be ashamed of learning from a prime minister, as Winder expresses it. A friendship and intercourse having subsisted for a time between the Egyptians and Jews, this is very important, watch this, by Solomon's marriage to an Egyptian princess and by the commerce which was carried on between the two nations. It is probable that the Egyptians borrowed from the Hebrews. Now, see, we already know that they borrowed from the Hebrews. This happened before Solomon. This happened during the time of Abraham. Abraham taught the Egyptians. But did the Egyptians give credit to the Hebrews? Let's see. It is probable that the Egyptians borrowed from the Hebrews, though they did not acknowledge the favor. See, they don't acknowledge where they're getting their knowledge from. They're not going to acknowledge it, just like they did today. Same thing that they did back then. They got our information, but then they don't acknowledge where they get it from. Just like when the Europeans got over here. They got the knowledge from the Aborigines, took it back to Europe, and they made it seem like they came up with it. Just like the calendar. Their calendar was all off. Then they got over here, got with the Mayans, got their information, took it back over to Europe, made their own little observatory over there in the Vatican City. I did a video on that a while ago that no one's allowed to go into. Then all of a sudden, poof, amazingly, they got a new calendar that was just totally accurate all of a sudden. But they didn't give acknowledgement to the Mayans. They didn't give acknowledgement to the Aborigines over here in America. They just made it seem as if they just figured it out. They didn't have knowledge of the stars, of the planets, of the movings and the workings of the stars and the things that were happening in the skies until they came over here. Then all of a sudden, whoa, they just got all this information, all this information, understanding all of a sudden. Do they acknowledge they got it from over here? Nope. Just like right here. Nothing new under the sun. That's why it was so important for them to blot our name out of existence so that they can then take credit for everything. It made it seem as if, hey, we're so smart. We came up with all this information on our own. It's like we said, Psalms 83 cuts both ways. That's why you get your blessing here, but not in the future, because you're not acknowledging the truth. You're only acknowledging the lies that you set up. Okay? So again, it is probable that the Egyptians borrowed from the Hebrews, though they did not acknowledge the favor. The friendship between the two countries was of short continuance, and we are not to suppose that Egyptians who value themselves on knowledge would own their obligations to the Hebrews. Exactly. They want to take the credit for everything. And this world still gives it to them. Oh, it's the Egyptians. They came up with these pyramids and they came up with this. How did they do that? They didn't get that stuff on their own. They got it from our people. So after they quarreled with that people, Diodorus Siculus maintains that Orpheus, Mephius, Melampus, Daedalus, Homer, Lycurgus, Solon, Plato, Pythagoras, Thales, Exodus, Demetricus, and other famous men visited Egypt in order to converse with the priests and learn their mysteries. Pythagoras resided 22 years in that country, submitted to be circumcised in order to be initiated in their religious mysteries, and expressed himself in a symbolic manner in use among the Egyptians. Can it then be supposed that a man who traveled for information and endured so dangerous and painful an operation, okay, in quest of knowledge, would miss an opportunity of seeking for it wherever it could be found? Inquisitive heathens had opportunities of learning, at least through the Egyptians, any knowledge possessed by the Hebrews, and it seems probable that they availed themselves of these opportunities. Not only Jews and Christians, but also pagans. Not only divines and ecclesiastics, but laymen and lawyers have maintained that the ancient pagan philosophers were indebted to the Jews for some sublime ideas of God, while others are warmly contend that they derived their knowledge of these things from reason or tradition from the patriarchs. So they know that they got their information from the Hebrews, right? Their pagan philosophers were indebted to the Jews for some sublime ideas of God, and many of their other ideas as well. They know they got them from the Israelites, just like they got them when they came over. And anytime they go and they take over our areas or take over our people, they get this. They get blessed with knowledge and understanding, resources. Just when it came over here to the fourth part. So you see, this is why you guys are not admitting anything. You're just staying quiet, but that's okay, because now the Most High is raising up His own people. We'll be the bullhorn to tell the truth. We'll be the ones bringing that knowledge, understanding to the world. And you can just sit there and be quiet and act like nothing's going on here. But the Most High is bringing knowledge and knowledge and light to the world. He's showing you where you got all your information from. You did not get it on your own just by reason and figuring things out. You got it from our people. And just because you try to sit there and talk about how dumb we are and ignorant and how we haven't done this, we haven't accomplished anything, the Most High is going to raise us up like He always said He's going to. And He's going to make it so that there's not going to be anything you can say about this truth. All praise is to the Most High, Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother. Who was wisdom? Who was the Holy Spirit? Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. Shalom.